Hello student, welcome to the last lesson of transport, and we are winding up with immune responses. Immune response is the production of antibodies in response to antigens. So what is the difference between antibodies and antigens? An antigen is any foreign or new material or an organism that is introduced into the body and causes the production of antibodies. Antibodies, on the other hand, are proteins produced by the lymphocyte in response to presence of antigen in the body. So lymphocytes are just a type of white blood cells. An antibody is a protein whose structure is complementary to the antigen. So antibody will always correspond or oppose the antigen. This means that a specific antibody deals with a specific antigen to make it harmless. When harmful organisms or proteins invade the body, the lymphocytes produce complementary or corresponding antibodies, while the bone marrow will produce the phagocytes. The thymus gland will produce the lymphocytes. All these are just types of white blood cells that prepares the body or defends the body against infection. Let us move ahead and look at immunity. Immunity is the ability of an animal to resist infection or counter the effects of toxins produced by the antigen. So, when we say toxins, we mean poisons. So these antigens or foreign materials produce poison. So the ability of the body to defend itself against the effects of this poison is what we are calling immunity. Let us look at types of immunity. There are two types of immunity: natural, which is also called inherited immunity. The other one is acquired immunity. This natural immunity is also called innate immunity. Innate immunity is the one which we are born with, and it is passed from parent to offspring. It is also non-specific. It offers protection from any type of antigens. So in innate immunity, we have, having looked at innate immunity, let us look at what we call natural acquired immunity, which is under innate immunity. When attacked by diseases like chickenpox, measles, and mumps, those who recover from these diseases develop resistance to any subsequent infections of the same diseases. That means when these people who have recovered are attacked by these diseases, their body already have developed a way, or resistance means actually a way to defend itself against this type of disease which will attack next. And if such individuals are attacked by the same pathogen again, they do not become seriously ill. Reason is that the memory of cells are able to recognize or to remember the antigens and stimulate the immune system to produce antibodies against their pathogens. This is what we call natural active acquired immunity. And it develops when one recovers from an infection. It is also long-lasting. For example, the ones for measles. During pregnancy, the mother passes antibodies across the placenta to the fetus. This provides immunity against infection for some time. Remember, these antibodies from the mother to the fetus will not provide immunity for a long time, just for a little period. And at birth, the baby gets more antibodies from the mother through breast milk, especially in colostrum. So the first few months when the baby is still young, that milk the mother is producing at that time is what we call colostrum milk. This is what we call natural passive acquired immunity. It is natural and it is passed from the mother to the fetus, and the fetus or the baby acquires from the mother. I believe now you understand what we mean. Then we have artificial acquired immunity. This is developed by vaccination. When a vaccine with a mild form of disease-causing microorganism or chemically treated toxoid is introduced into the body of a healthy person, the antigens or the foreign materials in the vaccine stimulate production of corresponding antibody, which destroys the pathogens. So the memory of the structure of the antigen is retained in the lymphocyte. And if the body is attacked again by the same disease, it produces specific antibodies to destroy the actual pathogen. Remember, the memory is still retained in the lymphocytes. That is what we call artificial active acquired immunity. And this is the principle used in vaccination against infections like measles, whooping cough, and polio. So these are the ones mostly you would find young babies being vaccinated against this, because the body will have the memory of these antigens. So even just in case that foreign or that antigen attacks the body, then antibodies are produced against those pathogens. So it is very important to educate people around us about vaccination, because these are deadly diseases. In some cases, it is permanent and immunization is done only once in lifetime. In some cases, booster immunity is required to maintain immunity. For example, those against cholera, since immunity lasts for a short period. Then we have artificial passive acquired immunity. This is achieved when antibodies from another source, for example, serum, are directly introduced to the body of a person. The serum containing antibodies is called antiserum. This type of immunity is called passive because the body is not activated to produce its own antibodies. So they were introduced actually. So we move to vaccination or immunization, in other words. And this is offering or providing of immunity to an individual by artificial means. it is not actually natural or from the body. You might have seen, or even all of us must have been vaccinated against all those diseases like measles, whooping cough, TB at birth, or from birth to 18 months. It involves the introduction of vaccine to the body of an animal. It can be in the form of weakened or attenuated. When we say attenuated, it means weak or reduced, or dead disease-causing microorganism or chemically treated toxins called toxoids. So toxoids are chemically treated toxins, and toxins, we say, they are just poisons. These toxoids stimulate the production of specific antibodies in the body, such that the next time the body gets infected by the actual pathogens, there will be no serious illness caused. And vaccine can be administered in the form of antiserum that contains antibodies from another animal. It is very possible. So some animals, or those people who develop vaccines, have obtained antibodies from other animals which were experimented on, and they are very safe. So there are those myths in our communities that people do not want, or some religions that don't want their children get vaccinated. It is very dangerous and not to receive vaccination. So how is vaccine important? It protects individuals from infections of many diseases like smallpox, TB, and even polio. Diseases like smallpox, TB, and tetanus were killer diseases in the past, but that is not the case unless people or mothers do not take their children to receive the vaccine. Pregnant mothers should be immunized against tetanus at least once before delivery. That is also very important. Measles injection is given at birth. Immunizations against TB and polio are administered immediately after birth. The one for polio is usually orally given. Usually, people of all ages are vaccinated if there is an outbreak of disease like cholera. And control of diseases can be done by restricting movement in and out of outbreak areas. That is what we call quarantine, and that is what we are experiencing now, or we experienced all over the world, especially since last year March in Kenya, when there was an outbreak of coronavirus. So people, even schools had to close, people were isolated, quarantined. Those are measures to control diseases. We move to allergic reactions. An allergy is a hypersensitive reaction to an antigen by the body. That means the body reacts with antigen violently. So people with allergies are oversensitive to foreign materials like dust, pollen grains, some foods like eggs. Some people do not eat eggs or meat or all forms of proteins, some drugs, and some air pollutants. Some even people are allergic to sprays. In some people, on eating certain food, rashes appear on the skin. Some drugs like aspirin and penicillin cause rashes to appear on the skin. So allergic reactions lead to production of histamine on the body, which causes swelling and pain. So allergic reactions can be controlled by avoiding the allergen and administration of antihistamine drugs. Other allergic reactions include itching, vomiting, sneezing, or difficulties in breathing. So you might have seen people when they come in contact with the dust or pollen, they have problems with breathing, or they develop asthma. So the allergic conditions are brought about when the body reacts by producing antibodies against the harmless antigens. That antigen-antibody reaction takes place on the surface of the cells and bursts open. And in the event, they release histamine. This histamine increases the permeability of the epithelial cells and makes them take in fluid, and the tissue swells up. That histamine causes inflammation and pain. So anaphylaxis is a severe condition in which the blood vessels get dilated or swells. If it swells, the blood pressure is lowered to the extent of causing death. So when the pressure of blood is too low, then the heart it is likely to cause death. And that is how these things can cause death. So this, we've said, the control of allergic reaction is by avoiding them and administering antihistamine drugs. We move to organ transplant, and it has been possible in this modern world to transplant organs like the kidney, liver, and spleen, and parts of the reproductive system, the skin, the limbs, and the heart. For example, you may be wondering how the heart. So there are those people who have problems in their heart. So it is even possible to transplant a valve to the heart. Remember, there are people who can survive. People do survive with one kidney if one is damaged or both have been damaged. So a donor can give out the kidney and just transplant it to the recipient. That is through the modern science or medicine. Parts of tissue or organs transplanted onto larger organs are called grafts. Remember, rejection may occur when the graft is not accepted by the recipient. Surgeons or those people who perform these operations can replace damaged tissues of organs using similar organs from other persons that are not genetically identical. You might have seen even some people have one eye or have eyes from other animals. Some people actually, when maybe in the event of accident like fire, so their faces are replaced. That is still organ transplant. So such grafts are called allografts. Xenografts involves transplants from other animal species, as we have said, the eye, for example, the eye from other animal, from maybe a sheep, into human being. For example, use of pig's valves to replace human valve is another example. Rejection of grafts immune system may be due to recognition of the antigen in the donor's graft as foreign. So the person who is receiving, or the recipient who is receiving the transplant, its body will receive the transplant and view it as an antigen or something foreign, and therefore reject it. So the recipient rejects by producing antibodies. That means that graft will not be accepted. So some transplants of the heart, kidneys, cornea of the eye, lungs, and bone marrow have been carried out using immunosuppressants. Those are the drugs to suppress the immune system so that the recipient's antibodies can slow down and accept these transplants. Remember, you might have heard of those people with cancer. So some have received bone marrow, especially if they must match. So they must find the perfect match for this transplant. Grafts involving twins or from the same individual do not cause immune response and are not rejected. A graft from genetically identical twin is called isograft. Then autograft is the one obtained from the cell. For example, a skin graft from the thigh to the face. So part of the thigh, maybe the person had in accident on the face and is badly injured. So part of the thigh or the hip skin is taken and used to repair the face. So that is the end of the topic. Here is an assignment for you. Have a nice time.